Let's begin by making a week 3 folder in PHP Storm. So I'm going to go to File, New Project, and I'm going to type week 3, and I want this to be in my CIS 195P folder. So I'm going to set the type to PHP empty project and say OK. I'm going to use the same interpreter as I've been using, and I'll open in this window. And let's begin with null. So not a lot to cover. Basically, there's a constant value called null, which is special, and it means no value. So it's a value that means no value. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new PHP file, and I'll call it null.php. And then I'm just going to create a new variable called v1, and I'm going to set it equal to null. And I'm writing null in all caps because it's a constant, but it will actually work if you write it in lowercase as well. And let's go ahead and see what we get. So I'm going to echo type of $v1. So that'll show the type of the variable, and then I'll add value colon, and then I'm going to echo the value of v1. And then I'll put a break in here. So now let me go to Chrome and pull up a new window, and I'll go to localhost CIS 195P week 3 null.php. Oh, so I have a undefined function type of. I should have typed get type here. It's one of the downsides of working in a lot of different languages is sometimes you get confused. There. So the type of null is null, and the value of null is nothing. What's actually going on here, though, is it's taking the value $v1 and it's converting it to a string. So when you convert the value null to a string, you get an empty string. And I'm going to make that a little clearer by putting a single quote here and a single quote here. And then I'm going to hit reload. So we see that I just get single quote, with an empty string in between them. Now the important part about null is that it's not the same thing as unset. So if I go ahead and say echo get type $v2 value v2 break, get rid of that extra single quote. So v1 has been set, but it's been set to null. v2 hasn't been set at all, so it's currently undefined. And if I go ahead and reload, I get null comma value with an empty string, but I also get 2 error messages. So I get an error message when I try to execute get type, undefined variable v2, and then I also get an error message when I try to access the value of v2, and it returns undefined. So I end up with the same output, but I also get these error messages. And I can suppress those error messages using the @ operator, like so. I just put @ here in front of the thing that I think might cause an error, and @ here in front of that thing which I think is causing an error, and then hit reload. That suppresses those error messages. So I see the same output, but I understand that what's actually going on is that v1 is outputting the value and type of null, whereas v2 is causing 2 reference errors, but then outputting the same values.